Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have the Capital One panel with us. And Ted, we have a very special guest with us.
We do, Sarah. Very honored to welcome back Tim Mullins, Vice President of Capital One. Tim was with us in New York earlier in the year at the World Trade Center. Tim, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you. Thank you, Ted and Sarah. Really appreciate it. I'm so excited to be back. Yeah, that was a fun time we had in New York. You guys throw a pretty good shindig, but really excited to be with you here today.
Well, Tim, back in June at the New York pop-up event that we had for the Fixed Ops Roundtable, we talked about how dealers are using AI tools within their business. Have there been any updates on how you're seeing dealers use AI tools within their businesses?
I think so, yeah. I think when we chatted in New York, everyone was sort of on their own change curve. It seems like lots of people were learning, consuming information about how do I optimize AI. And now it feels like, we haven't sort of totally jumped the canyon here, but it seems like a lot of people are getting really comfortable with AI. They sort of know where to put it in their process, which has proven to be really great in terms of enhancing the process rather than sort of replacing the process. And so we've seen a lot of uses of AI, both internally, how do I run my business, but also externally, how do I take care of a customer, sort of the way that they want to be taken care of. So lots of innovation. We here at Capital One are diving incredibly deep. And so we're thinking about it in a really sort of long-term way, letting it enhance what our humans do here, but also coming up with really great ideas on how to use it so that we can just be faster, more effective, and more efficient. So happy to translate that to our dealer partners so that they can learn the same things we are.
Well, Tim, I'm curious, how is AI impacting the conversations between dealers and car buyers? And how does this bridge the gap to enable them to have a more seamless car buying experience overall?
Well, I think that, we talked about in New York, the consumers want to interact with the dealers in the fixed ops area, how they want to interact, right? Some of them want to make a phone call, some of them want to email, some of them want to text, and some of them just want to chat. And so we've noticed that this new way of communicating with customers using an AI chatbot is just opening another door for the customer. The difference, though, is it doesn't take a lot of very expensive people to just sort of bounce back and forth with a customer on what we would consider just sort of, like low value conversations, right? Like, do you have this part or can I make an appointment? Like that stuff is easy. And that's the first thing we're seeing going to AI. It allows the consumer to bounce back and forth, get the information they need, find really valuable information. And then when they come into the store for the service or, the repair or the part, they sort of fast forwarded the process and they come in sort of delighted that they got to knock it all out and it was done, using an AI chatbot. So we're really excited about the optimization of conversations that we've been able to provide a lot of our dealers. And we're noticing that it allows the dealer to then reallocate their human capital to other things, maybe more difficult things or more valuable things, which is fantastic. So again, not replacing that human capital, but essentially optimizing it so that they can go do really, really valuable things.
I love that, Tim, because that's a big concern across organizations is, how do I preserve that relationship between my employees and my customer because they know that those are really where that retention and that loyalty comes from is the people. And so
Mhm.
I'm also curious, what are some of the biggest pain points in customer interactions and conversation that AI is helping to solve for dealerships?
I think the biggest pain point it's trying to solve is an aged old pain point for us in our business, which is transparency, right? I think the customer is seeking information and they're seeking it in the avenue they want to take, right? So they either want to email or call or chat, whatever. Like they don't want to be forced into a door. They want multiple doors to choose from. And what this, our particular, chat bot, which is called Chat Concierge, what this product does is it allows the customer to get transparent information in a seamless way that fits their needs, right? We're all busy. Like we all have lives going on. We have work and kids and families and sports and all the things. We don't have time to carve out an hour to, maybe potentially call someone or go visit the store if we're just seeking to find a little bit of information. And so these AI tools really optimize the ability to provide transparent information to the consumer. What's ironic though is when we were testing this small, in a small way, we also found out that at a certain point in the conversation, dealers are just ready to take over. And I think that's really, really cool. There's a bunch of stuff that the AI chatbot can do. But then eventually, for those like, really important, valuable parts of the conversation, we created a dealer takeover, which allows the dealer to watch the conversation going on in the system. And when they want to jump in, they can jump in and they can go, "Hey, this is Tim. Thanks so much for talking. We can definitely knock that question out, or we definitely do what you need to do." And so that it was interesting just to see that an enhancement like that added to the transparency that the consumer was needing when they maybe needed to talk to a human because it was a really complicated situation. And so we've seen the dealers kind of swoop in, take over, finish the thing, and then allowing the consumer to get what they need, and eventually coming in and taking care of what they needed to take care of. So it's been interesting. It's just taken another crack at that transparency thing that we're trying to provide has been really valuable.
And Tim, while we're transparent, it seems the industry, everything seems to be speeding up. Everything is moving faster and faster. I don't think there's ever been an exciting time more than what we have today. How can dealers leverage AI chat to result in more qualified leads, conversions, and revenue, regardless of the department they're in? And what are maybe some of the best practices uh, for successful integration?
I think what I really appreciate about our dealer customers is that they have a very good understanding of what their process is and where the pain points occur for their consumers. Like they are experts at this thing. They know exactly what the process needs to be. They know exactly where it breaks down. And they tend to be very smart at innovating in those sort of sections where the process breaks down. So my advice would be use AI to enhance those breakdown processes and allow them to free up. And so, for example, we have dealers who are using this chat concierge, obviously for the front end of the business, right? So consumers who are looking for cars, they want to buy cars, they want to make appointments, and it serves up really good ways to look at cars and even get pre-qualified online. It serves it all up for you. So it's essentially like a salesperson for you. But we're also finding dealers who plug that into the service department and to the parts department and kind of allow you to make transactions over sort of the internet, which allows the consumer to get what they need. And so I think our advice here is don't be hesitant with AI. You all know where your pain points are, and see if there are ways to plug in AI, and that way you can optimize, the situation and allow your consumer to have a very good flow from kind of A to Z into your system.
Tim, it's incredible to hear all of this immersion that AI is doing for this customer experience because you're so right. It transcends all the departments in the dealership. And while someone may start in sales, it can quickly turn into service and parts in any other department.
Mhm.
And it also seems that there are many continued improvements and innovation around Capital One's Chat Concierge product. Are there any last kind of takeaways for our audience today?
Yeah, I think when we look at the transparency component of the consumer and the dealer, what's interesting is like 75% of dealerships say that they think their consumer process is transparent, and then when we poll the same consumers for that population, only 50% of the consumers say that it's a transparent process. So there's like a massive gap there,
Oh,
and so I think what our advice is you can be transparent without breaking your process. And some dealers are like, no, no, don't do that. I don't want to be transparent. I just want the consumer to get what they want, and then I need them to come into the store, and then my process will take over, and that's like what I'm used to, and that's fine. I understand that, but I think the ability to use AI and to use chat concierge in places where the breakdowns happen, I think it's really important. So what we're doing is we're looking at ways to enhance our chat concierge in a lot of different ways. Dealer takeover was an example of that. We just released the ability to do Spanish speaking. So you can literally have the consumer speak in Spanish. It'll translate in English or continue in Spanish. And the dealership can either designate, we've seen certain dealers designate Spanish speaking associates to interact, or you can just speak English and it'll translate it to Spanish. So like that's a pain point, right? You may be losing consumers who need to order parts or service and they interact with a tool that doesn't speak their language and they bounce and you didn't even know that you lost that consumer. And so this is like continually innovating here at Capital One, trying to figure out as much as we can to help the dealer out. We have some really cool stuff that we're going to enhance this tool with. Can't quite talk about it yet, but maybe join us at NADA if you're making the trip down to Vegas, and we'll show you some things on the booth floor. But we don't stop at Capital One. It drives us crazy when we're stagnant. We have to always ask the dealer, what else do you need? What else would help you in your business? And so we have a bunch of ideas that we are now prioritizing and trying to knock out. It's just a really important thing for us to make sure that we're helping the dealer with what they need. And for your particular audience with the fixed ops side of the business, this is something that we've never been really able to crack, right? We were always kind of on the front side. You think of me as a bank, and that's great. But now we're really trying to make tools that help this audience. And this is what really makes us excited because we can sort of help a part of the business that really needs the help because the service and fixed ops part is a fantastic part of the business, and they're getting their due, and we're just excited to be along the ride with that.
And Tim, to your point just now, and I think dealers are recognizing the service and parts revenue producing element
Mhm.
as being one of the most important components in the dealership, especially in this last year or so. So,
Mhm.
um, uh, when we were in New York together, there were so many dealers that had attended that were with us, and we mentioned Capital One, and it seemed like almost everybody had a relationship with Capital One and could
Right,
relate to that.
right.
Dealers are making their plans now. We're midway through the fourth quarter, almost into the new year. Um, I know we have a QR code where people can learn more, but you
Mhm.
mentioned NADA as well.
Yep.
You'll be there.
We'll be there. So we've been participating in that for a long time. We are expanding our footprint with NADA. We are going to be demoing a lot of products. And what's interesting is we don't tend to talk a lot about finance when we go to NADA. Finance has been around for 20 years. We're kind of locked and loaded in that thing. For us, we're spending a ton of time innovating digital products. And at Capital One, the dealer who is our customer, the dealer is at the center of what we do. And so if you're thinking about making your plans to come to Vegas, I believe that's where it is
Mhm.
this year or next year at NADA. I would really encourage you to look for us really for two reasons. One, I want you to show you the things that we're doing, and I want to show you the relevancy in the service and parts department. But two, I am always listening for the next idea. And I feel like we are just starting our journey with really being able to apply some amazing technology to this audience. But I find that the best ideas don't come from me. They actually come from the dealer. And so I would encourage you to come. I'll be at the booth and try to find me. And I'd love to pick your brain about what are the areas of your process that if a company came in and just handed you a couple of tech pods and just said, what do you want us to build? What would be those ideas? And then we'll take them back. We'll try to figure out how to make them work, and then we'll start piloting them. So I would encourage you to come and find us. We're always listening, Ted and Sarah.
And Sarah always innovating apparently as well in Capital One.
That's so true, Ted. And Tim, it's always a pleasure to get to learn about all the amazing things Capital One is doing and then how it can really help a dealership be more successful and have these incredible opportunities with their customers.
Yes, we're excited. Stay tuned for some big things in 2026 that is very relevant for this audience. So just I'll just tease it a little bit.
Just dangle that out there. All right.
Yeah, right.
In the meantime, best way for our audience to learn more about Capital One and stay abreast of things that you're working on.
Yes. Yeah. So scan the QR code that you'll see on the screen here. That'll get you to the right place. There's a lot of information that we can provide. There's a lot of things that you can look at. But essentially, if you're interested, reach out to us because we will have a dedicated person contact you, understand what your needs are. We're not really interested in just sort of selling a bunch of stuff. We're interested in creating solutions. So if you want a consultant that helps you create some solutions, Capital One is your company.
Right. Very grateful to have you, Tim, as a certified partner, Capital One of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Thank you for all you do for our industry. And on behalf of Sarah and I, want to wish you and your family and the Capital One family next week a very happy Thanksgiving as well.
Happy Thanksgiving to you all. It was a pleasure, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Uh, Tim Mullins, everybody, Vice President at Capital One, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.